I think about Venus, I think about love, beauty, art, all the regular things, but I also think about like connecting with other people. Like this right here, I mean, this is a whole chart. This is every
Hmm.
planet involved. You and I like connecting and speaking with one another and sharing experiences, that's very Venusian. Um, that's what I think about. And I think about the fifth house. I think about the pleasures in life, like going to the sweet shop up the
Hmm.
road. Like that's very Venusian.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I don't know. I love Venus down. I think about the fifth house too, obviously. The fifth house is our pleasures as well. It's kind of like dating, things like that, and that's where Venus
Hmm.
takes its joy. So my mind automatically is gonna go there. Um, yeah, I always listen, shout out to Venus. That girl comes through.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, Venus to me is always going to be Venus is like so many things when I look at astrology. It's so many different things. And on one hand, it is everything that we know right now, which is the way you want to be loved, your
Hmm.
values, the way that you want to also look at financial prosperity, like how you want to take that in. Um, but more importantly, it's like what brings me happiness? Because Venus
Yeah.
is it's minus, it's darkness, right? And you're taking in that energy, and so if positive and like white, yin versus yang, if that's masculine, Venus is what you bring towards you. And I always think about like
Hmm.
we quite literally manifest from the feminine, and that's where you'll see in like um the idea of building your chi is standing still because you're attracting things to you so you get power. So in order to actually master Venus and to understand it better, it's really about loving yourself to a point that might be borderline narcissistic, but it's at a point where you just defy reality outside of what you believe to be true. And wherever you have Taurus and Libra in your chart, wherever you have Venus itself, and then the aspects of that really affect your manifestation. And that's something
Hmm.
that I've seen reading where I'm like, wow, this person's Venus is really the reason their whole chart is like this. But their Sun and Jupiter are the ones that are making it look like that. Like it's masculine on the outside. But when I look at it, when I hear them speak, everything comes from that Venus that's sitting in the back. And it's just
Yeah.
so fundamental. It's like astrology versus tarot or like behind the veil. Like that Venus really does a lot.
Yeah, and I love that you said borderline narcissistic because that's another thing I think about when I think about Venus is how that girl shows up, like in the sky, okay? Like as soon as the sun sets, oh, she's out,
Yeah.
okay? Like shining as bright as possible. And I can't tell you how many texts I get when Venus sets and people are like, what is that planet out there that's just shining so bright? And automatically I'm always like, I know it's Venus. Let me just look at the chart and see. And it's always Venus or right before the sun rises, like she's out.
Yeah.
Um, when she's rising in the morning, depending on where she's at in the sky. So when you said borderline narcissistic, I'm like, oh yeah, because that one, she's the main one who can really like compete with the luminaries. Like
Mhm.
she waits for her moment, but you're not gonna miss her moment in the sky, okay? Like glistening. She's so beautiful when you go out there and see her. It's crazy.
She absolutely is. And I have a friend that like loves Venus. She has a Scorpio Venus, progressed Scorpio Venus, and then she has a
Oh
natal
wow.
Libra Venus. And I've through watching her, like she made a really sacred space in her home for Aphrodite. And I got to kind of see like Venus really is going to show out for itself. And it's interesting, like in the signs wherever you have Venus, we could kind of talk about that before even getting too deep into like the transit. But obviously, we'll be starting with Aries Venus. Um, when you have Venus in that fiery sign, it's like it becomes the luminary. Like the way that you were saying that, oh, um, when the sun is set, you see Venus. But then a fire sign Venus or an Aries or Leo Venus, especially, the sun don't gotta set. It is out there. It is literally out there. And you will know, like, it's funny how I can spot an Aries Venus every single time. They are so distinctly different than a Leo Venus. Because the Leo Venus is actually not as loud as the Aries. The Aries is like, oh, I like you. I'm coming for you. Man or
Oh,
woman,
I like
I'm
you and
coming.
I'm going to get you. Right.
And it will traumatize you. As someone that has a 12th house Aries women traumatize me. I stay away now because it's like you really got to be careful because they will love. And it's not that they don't show you that affection, it's how long it's gonna last.
No, you're so right about that because, obviously Venus is detriment in Aries. So, it's Venus and Mars. Mars is very quick, and Venus, I like to think of Venus as like a slow burn type of
Yeah.
thing, depending on which place. But Mars is like, oh no, I'm impulsive. I'm full of enthusiasm. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
they're ready.
Hmm.
So, Venus and Aries, like you said, I was actually telling my friend about this the other day because he was talking to a girl that has Venus and Aries, and he was just like, AK, like I just really don't, you know, I don't know what to do with this one. And I'm like, she loves the chase. What do you mean? Like, go get her. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't go get her, she's gonna come get you. Like, it's
Yeah.
just that simple. And it literally worked like that. Now they're dating. So,
Yeah. No, that they will be ending up dating. It's funny you mentioned that because I just think about it like everything in our 3D reality needs a polarity. So it's always a plus
yeah,
and minus. And so when I think of, like you say, detriment, I think me and you know this, but I'll say this for the audience. Like, even if you have a detriment or a fall, it doesn't mean it's bad. It just depends on how your chart works with it. Because that detriment in some people's charts, I'm like, thank God you had that because you'd be strung out on crack right now. Like, that's your saving grace. That one placement that you feel like holds you back,
okay.
it actually grounds you. And so, a Venus in Aries doesn't necessarily just have to be like, oh, you're going to go frivolously date. You put that in the 10th house, oh my god, like that could make you a lot of money. Like when I think of
Yeah.
not necessarily Venus, but Moon in Aries 10th house, or a Scorpio 10th house moon, like it might not be clean, but you're gonna be all right. And with Venus in Aries, that pursuit of wonder is all that it's chasing, because now Aries is in the sign that wants everything for itself. So it's like, well, I don't have to sit here and wait. I'm just gonna go get it. But if you look at it like a
Yeah.
Venus and Taurus, they're just like, I just gotta find my one person and I'm set for life. Venus is Aries is like, I'm gonna keep finding it until I find it.
Yeah, no, you're so right about that. And you mentioned something, and I don't know, a little light bulb went off in my brain. And they really are go-getters, though, because, Venus does have to deal, we spoke on this earlier, with like, finances and the way that you attract things to you. It's your relationship with everything in this world, including money and resources and stuff like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Venus and Aries, like they're gonna make a way for themselves. That's one thing about them. So, like you said, even though it's detriment, and there might be some issues with any detriment placement, that's one that, listen, I wouldn't hate to have it because they're gonna get their money. I've never met a Venus and Aries person who doesn't like have multiple sources of income or
Okay.
they're working towards multiple sources of income. Like they really just, depending on how it's aspected, of course, but they've got that in them. Like you said, Venus and Taurus, not so much. It comes a little bit easier to them, but Venus and Aries, it's like they learn very quickly that if I want this, I have to go get it, and they have no problem doing that.
Yeah. And that's like using that detriment to your advantage. When you think of Venus and you think of Venus, for instance, is the domicile is obviously going to be Libra. Um,
Mhm.
I Now I will say the standard ones, but sometimes I'll change it because I'm like, I feel like it's better here for me personally. But I'll say, you know, because its domicile is in Libra, the domicile and the detriment, they're just polarity. So the domicile is Libra,
Yeah.
the detriment is the opposite, which is Aries. The exaltation is like the perfect place for it to be, right? Like where it can be in such a way. And I see that as where basically it doesn't cost you money to exist. I know that sounds crazy, but if you just think about it, where if Venus could not have to worry about money, would it want to be? And that's Pisces. Because then it could literally
Like,
be in the woods somewhere, existing and contemplating its own existence and like not having to worry about capitalism, right?
yeah.
The opposite of
Literally
that.
just like loving everything around them. Like they're
Yeah.
just the real lovers. Like I love this, I love that. Like you can, I don't know, they're the easiest people to please. I love Venus and Pisces. I'm not gonna lie.
No, for sure. Because you will feel never ending love. I think I do better with them as friends though, but you'll feel never ending love. And it's like, I can't wait till we have people and we pull up these charts on these people and just talk about them. But I know we're like kind of going over it now. But Venus in Virgo being the opposite of that, like could be seen as like not a good place for Venus, but that's just because personally, Venus is taking care of everyone else but itself there. And I think that's really what makes it like not the best place for it to be. But these four signs, Pisces, Virgo, Libra, Aries, is a really big, important look at your manifestation. And I'm not going to make this a whole manifesting thing. That's not it. But that's what Venus is to me. It's like you're manifesting. Like, what do you want? What do you truly want? What makes you happy? Are you going to
Yeah.
be happy with balance and love for yourself with a awesome way of going about it? Do you want to fight for it? Do you just want it to be ethereal and get everything you want and just like a fantasy, a fairy tale? Or does it have to be a spreadsheet? Does it have to tick off boxes?
Okay.
Can you get a return on your investment?
Okay, Venus and Capricorn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I Venus and Virgo, somebody said something interesting about that placement one time that has always stuck with me about um they explained it as basically like a dancer, like the best dancer ever. And they're like doing a performance and they miss that one step, but they keep going.
Hmm.
And that like even though that is technically like a bad placement, I kind of love Venus and Virgo too. I'm probably going to say that about all the Venuses because I love Venus, but I don't know, like you're always going to feel the love from them too. It's just going to be a bit different from Pisces, obviously. Pisces is like I'm a never ending, you know, water
Lake.
fountain or
Yeah.
waterfall, and I can just pour all this love out to you. And Virgo's like, oh, Venus and Virgo is a little like, I gotta think this one through, but I do love you and I'm gonna show you. I just have to be practical about it.
No, for sure. Venus and Virgo is definitely going to it's gonna want to see progress. Unlike the other ones, it's gonna want to see a progress. It's Venus and Virgo is definitely gonna be like, hey, um, you said you're gonna do this thing, and it's that day. Have you done it? You know, um, and
Right.
they will keep a spreadsheet on that. But I want to say, with us getting kind of like a pretty good view of Venus, seeing it from those sides. For you as a Libra rising, for me as a Taurus rising, when we think about how Venus is going to retrograde, what does that bring up in your mind?
Ooh, Venus retrograde in Aries, and it does go back into Pisces.
Mhm.
Um, you know, I have so many thoughts when it comes to that because my mind goes to so many things. I think about the world, which I don't want to think about, and I think about women. Um,
Mhm.
I just I also think about people's like interpersonal relationships, and this is definitely going to be a time where people obviously are reevaluating their relationships. That's any Venus retrograde. But I feel
Mhm.
like this is going to be a focus where like a lot of people, especially women, are like, when it's in Aries, they're going to be like, is this man really worth my time? Which might be a good
Mhm.
thing. Either
Mhm.
way, it's going to be a good thing to think about that because is he worth your time?
Mhm.
Um, so that's the main thing I think about with Venus retrograde and Aries. I'm a little worried for relationships. I don't think they'll end. So if you're listening to this, don't be like, oh my God, I've
Yeah,
been with
don't
this
look at your
man
partner
for
and
10
yeah,
years. We're about to get divorced. No, just
yeah.
because you revise something doesn't mean it has to end. You can fix it. Um, and I think that's another thing. I think there's going to be a lot of people like fixing long-standing issues in relationships because it's Venus and Aries. That Martian energy gives you the drive to actually want to take action behind the issue for what
Right.
it is you want, which is Venus. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. The retrograde to me is like, let's make an audit. Ironically, we were talking about Venus and
Yeah.
Virgo, but it's like, let's make an audit because is this alive? Are we really chasing it? And obviously, like I said before, it's not just about love. It's really the values of things that make you happy. So if Venus is in your
Hmm.
first house, how are you auditing yourself before you even look at someone else? Because if you're not your true authentic self with the Venus in your first house and it's, let's just say, Aries, then your descendant, you're not bringing the people that are going to give you balance from you being able to be your true self, you know. And
Hmm.
uh it's such a like a thing where you have to sit down and kind of just, I don't even just want to say journal it out because you can just say that, but contemplate it. When Venus is going through its transit, you right now, the compassion that you have for yourself or whatever house it is, when it retrogrades into Pisces, are you getting that infinite love of the house that's before Aries, which is Pisces, but whatever that is? So let's say your
Hmm.
Venus is in Aries and it's in your second house, your own values, your own desire to accumulate. Venus in the second house is really good for money, but to accumulate your own desires. Going back into the first, is the things that I'm going after actually making me feel happy and blissful and just feeling so much like my world's a fantasy because Pisces is in your first, you know?
Yeah. That's so real. When you were saying that, I was thinking like a Pisces rising would have a good one with this transit because
Yeah.
it'll be really easy for them to be like, okay, where am I not getting the things I need with Venus and Aries? And then when it goes back into Pisces, they get that chance to like really pour into themselves. Um, that's gonna be cute. And also, I think for a lot of people, regardless of where it's falling, it is kind of gonna be a lot about where am I lacking giving myself these things that I know I need. Like
Mm-hmm.
even if it is maybe in like a seventh house, like Libra risings,
Mm-hmm.
or I 10th house and it's about work, whatever. I feel like it's gonna be a lot about like, hey, am I networking the way I should be? Am I connecting with the right people for the relationship I want? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's very self-focused just because it is Aries. Um, oh gosh, this one's gonna be a wild ride lived.
Yes, it is. Oh my God. Do you want to talk about the, we could segue into that, like the rest of the stuff? Because we like zoomed in to Venus and Aries so they could get a taste of it, but we got a lot going on, especially around that time. Oh.
Oh yeah, we have like Mercury retrograde going on, right?
Mm-hmm. So during the time, so let's fast forward. We're gonna pull out handy dandy. So I use Astro Gold. I know you use something else, AK, just so they could see, you know, um, we're two different people, but we can come together and see astrology for what it is. And I like that because you've always used a different chart platform than everyone else. You were on whole sign before everyone else. Like, so I love that because we're gonna be different. And this way people can see it's not just one standard. Like you can do other things and still get to the same conclusion because it's like you're equipping this tool to help you understand the world and how you fit into it.
Yeah, and at the end of it all, like it all comes together. Um, I'm gonna pull up Luna and you're pulling up Astro Gold. I just hit like month and went 2 months forward, April 6th.
Okay.
There is no way that Mercury is retrograde in Pisces.
Yeah. Yeah. I I sit down and I think to myself, wow, we really are going to have a Pisces retrograde. And when I think
Yeah.
about the last time we had the inversion, the Mercury retrograde, and we had the cloud strike issue, oh my gosh, I was like, hmm. So in Pisces, I feel like someone's just gonna slip up and say something in extreme that's gonna cause like not just hysteria or panic, but it's going to be like, oh wait, we we are just going to let that slide. Like, no, we're going to need to go back on that.
Yeah.
But let's pull up the
And
chart.
it
So,
does conjoin eventually. I'm pretty sure Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde are going to. I don't know how close it is that they get to one another, but they definitely get pretty close, okay? Um,
mm, yeah,
so
yeah.
that's gonna, like you said, a lot of conversations are gonna come up. Oh
Very.
gosh, especially about on a worldly level, I would just say n to not make it crazy, it's just there's gonna be a lot of conversations about finances and what's going on between us and other people and finances in that area. Mm,
Oh, for
and
sure.
then relationships, people that's gonna be a good opportunity though for like relationships. People are gonna be able to be like, okay, I've had time to think about this. Now let's talk about it, you know?
Oh, for sure. Because on the peripheral of the Mercury and Venus, look at Mars. Mars in Cancer. It's not retrograded for once. Because right now, oh, by the way, in case we should do this at the start so people know, so they could like, you know how love Chris Brennan, how he's like for the nerds out there, the exact time and date. Okay, so like it is the sixth. No, it's yeah, it's the 6th of February. Um, and so here we have Mars retrograded in Cancer,
Yeah.
but it's finally direct and it's almost in Leo in April 6th, right? And when you look at that,
Mhm.
the Mars has a trine to the Saturn, the Venus, and the Mercury. And I feel like while we're looking at what it is that we're not happy about with the Venus and the Mercury, we're actually going to put in a conversation between everyone that's going to be like, hey, Mars is squaring Chiron in Aries, and it's like, I don't feel good about this. And I want this to be fixed. And the Mars is also sextile Taurus, Uranus and Taurus. And it's like, and if we don't do it this way, then things just won't be continuing this way. And we're going to have to let it go. But then the
Yeah.
Saturn in Pisces is just like, hey, Okay, let's try, you know.
This is just like a roller coaster of emotions. I
100%.
am not gonna lie to you. I did not notice that. I knew Mars would be direct by then because I am counting down the days. But when I pulled this up, I didn't recognize that it would be trining all of that. That
Mhm.
is so interesting because there are going to be conversations, but
Oh,
they're
for
going to
sure.
be heated conversations. Like, it's not just going to be both parties are coming into this thinking that it's their conversation to hold and to
Mhm.
have, and this is what I feel. And they're not understanding. They're going to be met with, okay, I see how you feel, but let me tell you how I feel. Like,
Mm.
not one-sided at all. Um, there's too much emotions going on. And then, Pisces is double-bodied, Cancer is double-bodied, y-
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah, it's
this
gonna
is
be
two
like,
things going on at once.
I feel like this, and they're gonna be like, wait, but I feel like this. That's literally what I feel when I think about it. It's an emotional I feel. So here, during this period of time, the only way through is by having a medium ground. On one side, like one side of the party is like, okay, I'll start to work on this if you work on this, and that sounds very tit for tat, but it's the truth,
Yeah,
you know.
no, it's so true. I'm trying to see and the North Node's there too. And I mean, if
Mm,
you know anything about the nodes, the North Node just amplifies everything like times
yep,
10.
yep.
So this is not just a one and done conversation, if you ask me. There's just no way it could be.
Yeah, we're oscillating here between such a potentially very toxic situation, and I feel like from today, or no, maybe from the fourth till then, I feel like you're in a bubble, like you're in a capsule. For people
Yeah.
that just started stuff or what, you're in a capsule because the themes that you're going to address then are already now present, and
Yeah.
it's just fighting that as to whether or not we're going to have a conversation. As you get closer to that, it bubbles, it starts to actually present itself more and more and more, and I'm just like, oof, that is no joke. It's no joke.
No, not at all. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on either March 29th or March 30th, we have, I think, our last little partial solar eclipse in
Mm,
Aries.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Because I think there is a new moon, and I know that the node has already moved, but of course it's partial because it's still within so many degrees or whatever. So I
mm-hmm.
feel like, hmm, I don't want to jump out on a limb and say
Jump out,
whatever.
AK.
I'm going to jump out on the limb. Okay. Whatever does go on around this time and whatever conversations do come up potentially around your, financial resources, your relationships, whatever it may be,
Mm-hmm,
um, it's definitely been a theme for about a year and a half now, because we're wrapping up this eclipse cycle with Aries and Libra. And I mean,
mm-hmm,
that axis has not only the Mars that's trining this Venus, but because Aries, Mars
mm-hmm,
is the ruler of Aries, but also Venus retrograde and
mm-hmm,
Venus being the ruler of Libra, which is the opposite to that Aries new moon that is going to
mm-hmm.
be a partial solar eclipse.
You are correct. Uh, I love it. It's like advanced astrology. It's math. I swear to everything, it's math. But no, I agree.
That just like heightens it times 10. I hate to tell people that. But honestly, before Saturn gets into Aries in June, please handle whatever it is that needs to be handled
I'm telling
because
you.
I mean Saturn's gonna do it if you don't.
Saturn's gonna do it if you don't is actually the underlying. That should have been the quote of the year. Saturn's gonna do it if you don't, and if you don't work on
That's
whatever
going to
that
be the
thing
name of this
is.
podcast. I know people are going to be like, they didn't even talk about Saturn, but if you listen,
If you listened, yeah, no, let's actually can we just like segue into that, or do you think we should? Because I'm like, we
oh
are like,
no.
this is part of the retrograde. I'm just gonna put a little
Yeah, dude,
note.
this is Yap session.
Saturn's gonna do it if you don't.
Saturn is definitely going to do it if you don't. That's another thing, dude. Oh my God.
Saturn in Pisces right now has been wrecking me as a Virgo moon. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Yeah.
But as Saturn goes into Aries, I will be so happy with my current transit. However, the thing that Saturn's showing you right now, if you think about the way that Saturn has been moving through your houses ever since Saturn's been in Sagittarius, it has it destroyed everything in Scorpio. It made you isolate. And Sag, it was like
Mhm.
learn from that. Get yourself some education, do some traveling. We move on to Capricorn. All right, so you financially are not stable. You're not grounded. You don't have the right type of setup for your life. Let's fix that, right? In Aquarius, let me give you a little treat, since you've been clueless to help you get back up to speed. Let's try to fast forward you into a better life, to have you accept yourself, because you might not be living the most authentic version of your life that you should.
Yeah.
And now in Pisces, we need you to get serious because we're getting ready to launch. We're getting ready to launch.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think I was telling you the other day, Saturn and Pisces, it literally, for me personally, it just gives like, it knows no bounds. So, like, if you didn't do all of the following things Liv was just mentioning with the others, like Saturn transits, this one is the one that kind of came in and was like, hey, I I have a little bit of structure, not really, but a little bit, but you have to figure it out because there's so much going on. And it's like there's so many opportunities I feel like now that people really just kind of have to lock in. It's kind of like time to make the decision like am I going to go this way with my life or am I going to go that way with my life? Or am I just going to sit here and continue to try and juggle 50 things. And if you do, that's fine, but like lock in on it. And that's ultimately what Saturn and Pisces has kind of been doing for people, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. That was pain. I'm not gonna yap
You
about the
know,
transit for myself, but I really want to say that I I am still grateful for Saturn for what it's done for me and my very clear delusions and what I thought was real, humbling me with that, and now moving towards setting me up to be absolutely ready. My mentality to break out and to show me that I can truly do whatever it is that's possible. And that's how I'm choosing to look at Saturn in Aries. I don't want it to be
oh,
a fear
wait,
factor.
Liv. Hold on. I can't hear you well.
Oh no. Hello?
You're just really low. I can hear you, but not the best.
Okay. Well, hopefully the audio is could be Discord giving me
Giving
some
me some
issues.
issues.
Okay, that should be better. Um
Okay, yeah, I hear you better now. Sorry.
no, you're fine. So Saturn and Aries, I don't want it to teach me a lesson. And so I'm taking it with open arms and saying, "All right, show me how to be even stronger than before." you know?
Yeah, definitely. I I know it sounds crazy because everybody is usually so fearful for their Saturn return, but me, I was just telling my friend before we got on here, my best friend, I was like, girl, I am kind of ready for this. Like,
Mhm.
please put me where I am supposed to be. Like, I need it. I have to have it. Um, I mean, I know I have to do the work myself, but I am kind of excited for the Saturn return to come in and kind of restructure everything or help me restructure everything.
Mhm.
Um, and Saturn and Pisces, listen, I haven't gotten to it directly opposing my Mercury yet. I'll let you know when I do.
Mhm.
And I'll let you know if I'm okay or not, but it hasn't been that bad for me.
Mhm.
It's just been sixth house things like gymming and eating healthy and
Mhm.
getting a good day-to-day routine. So it hasn't been that bad, but I also try not to say too much because Saturn gets excited when you say things like that. And Saturn's like, "Oh, it
Mhm.
hasn't been bad." Okay, I got you.
No, that's 100%. I look at every time I read someone's chart, and I immediately look at Saturn and Capricorn, and I kind of want to see where it's at and to see how they got to learn, how they might have to struggle. Oh my gosh. And for me, when I look at my own house, I'm like, I'm high key ready too. Like I'm not as fearful of it as I was before because I feel like our Saturn really does. Like we had that conversation. Our Saturn really pushes you already every day. Like I'm like, how could I not be happy? I'm not dead, you know? And having Saturn and Aries, like that is the core of it. It's like every day has been a fight since I have been born. You really think that I'm afraid anymore? I'm not. I'm not.
No, literally. Saturn and Aries, freaking all my life I had to fight.
It's been such an amazing thing, but I think we'll leave that for another episode because we will get into that. Um, we've actually spoken for just about an hour. I I'm so happy. This is our first
I'm
episode.
so proud. I'm so proud of us. Like I could cry happy tears because we're the type of people and I don't know if you're as bad as maybe I am, but I will let that Virgo placement stop me from a lot of things, okay? But this was one thing I was not letting it stop me from, and I am so proud. If you're that kind of Virgo placement with me, Liv, I am proud of you too. I'm proud of you regardless, but I'm
Thank you.
extra proud if you beat the Virgo moon anxiety on top of it all.
No, I appreciate that because although I don't have the Virgo moon anxiety, I gotta thank the Sag placements for that because I get it in adrenaline, and then like doing helps me cope. So I was gonna do it regardless, but I'm happy I get to do it and share this with you because I really think you're an amazing astrologer, and you know so much, and I'm just like I pale in comparison. So when you had offered to do that, I was like, I absolutely want to do that. You know, I absolutely want to do this with you. Um, and here we are.
No, Liv, I really am the same way about you. Like I think you're the best and you teach me so much every day. And I know you really don't think that you do, or maybe you know you do. I don't know. But you have grown so much since I first met you. Like it's absolutely insane. And I'm just glad that we finally put our little feet out here and jumped into it head first.
Oh, thank you. I do want to say, if you guys want to find us, we're on TikTok. The link, we're gonna have like a link tree everywhere. I don't know what platform you're listening to this on, but there will be a link tree, so you'll be able to kind of access us. I do my own astrology stuff at Combust Astrology, and I'll post videos on YouTube, TikTok, and whatever. But honestly, with this podcast, I'm low key just gonna start just posting like genuine transits on YouTube. And I was thinking, like, what do I do for my Instagram and TikTok? Because I'm like, I feel like I do the Virgo thing there where I overproduce quality and it's too much. And I'm like, I gotta kind of dumb it down and be like, Venus and Scorpio, you're a lover girl, or something simple like that. But we'll see. But you'll be able to check me out on the pages.
Yeah, definitely check Live Out. I don't post as much astrology as I used to, but I have so many TikToks up that are old and people still look at them to this day. And I do tweet a lot. Those are probably the two best places to find me. I do have Instagram. I'll accept the follow request and follow back, but I don't really post on there. Um, but yeah, Live, never dumb yourself down for these people, please.
Okay, you're right. I shouldn't. AK, the way you move, I would swear you are a Scorpio rising, because uh, I- I'm just grateful that we crossed paths to have met you. Because there's no way I would have met you any other way. Not even on astrology Twitter. Because the way I would have never found you. Um, but yeah, I'm grateful. We don't have an outro.
Yeah, we don't have an outro, but I am also grateful for you. And we're gonna wrap this up. Shout out to our first episode. Good night or good morning or good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. And yeah, thanks for tuning in.